Okay, so we'll get it moving here this morning. Want to connect a little bit from the last few weeks into where we're going to go this morning. Last week we talked about having some intentionality about the next several months of what we're looking at in terms of planting, purposefully planting something into our lives, into our hearts, so that we can see a harvest come from it in the coming months. And we kind of tie that into my OCD about farming. I learned some really cool stuff too from the conversations that I had. So there's some stuff that I would really like to try to share, but I don't know it that well, and the farmers would laugh at me because I'm sure they all got together and they were like, "Did you hear how he talked about that? That was so funny." But the farmers are expecting to have a harvest come, late July, August, September, depending on the crop. October, if you're waiting for your corn to dry, I guess. There's one farmer out on the corner of Imperial Road and 45. He usually waits till January. I don't know, it seems like it's a little bit late to get the crop off, but I don't know. Not my tractor. But we want to talk about purposely planting and having a season where we're being intentional about letting God speak into our lives and then seeing Him and having the intent that God's going to do something with that purposefulness that we are doing, that we are inviting Him into, whether it's being on top of like Bible reading, doing devotions, journaling. Never thought I was a journaling type person until I started journaling. And all of a sudden, a couple lines comes a paragraph, comes a half a page. It can be surprising. And then from that comes connectivity with God, but being purposeful about it, expecting a harvest, and then from that harvest, not just having the pretty fruit that we had, fruit from that harvest that we had on the table and all the fruit and vegetables, but like that actually is purposed to be a place of communion for us, because we're going to purchase those products and we're going to bring them to our table and we're going to make meals and we're going to invite people in and we're going to have conversations and we're going to share about what God did with the seeds and how He brought about fruit and how that's led us here to be able to share about God. So this morning what we want to do is we want to have a conversation with some college students who have, for a season of their life, they've purposely set aside some time and they've gone to Bible college. And we wanted to have a conversation with them about where they're at, why they decided to go, what God is doing in their hearts, and a season of this time where they've set aside this for God to speak into. Now, caveat, or the exception clause, or whatever you want to say. Bible college isn't for everybody. Not saying it is, and not specifically saying a specific Bible college is where you need to go. But rather we want to have the conversation about the intentionality of setting aside time for God to speak into their lives. So I'm going to invite up our college students that went to Steinbach Bible College. There's 3 of them. Aaron Clausen, right? Aaron, Jason, and Alexis. Okay, we have our 3. Yeah, right. Yeah. You don't have to sit too far. Yeah. So they didn't plan on this, but she went to college first, and she's been there a couple years. Jason's been there 1 year, and Alexis is 1 semester. So we've kind of tiered it down. They've purposely done this, and the 2 boys were saying, Jason and Alexis were saying this morning that we're going to rely on Aaron for all of our answers.
No, just the bulk of the time.
The bulk of the time. Not all the answers, but the bulk of the time. So, all right. So I have some questions that I set aside for you guys, and you guys can decide who's going. They're all like, you take the mic, Aaron. So we have extrovert.
Hello. Okay. Yeah, it's on.
And we have Jason as an introvert, self-proclaimed. We've had some COVID discussions about this. This is great. And Alexis, you say introvert.
I'd say more half and half. I like people, I just need my alone time.
I like people, but stay away.
Yes.
Okay, valid. All right, so first question, and I think maybe the obvious starting point, is what was the reason or motivation, purpose behind you deciding to go to Bible college? Like, what was it for you? Why did you decide to go?
That is a great question. For me, I actually didn't even think about Bible college at first. Like, didn't even cross my mind. But it was a process where God was leading me towards. And so there was something that happened in the church that I kind of went to a different church at a time. But then I felt that God's Spirit was leading me back. I was like, I know God is leading me back to the church. So I came back right when Gord Penner was teaching the Old Testament course. And so I was like, oh, this seems like a really great course. So I signed up for it. I did the course. Throughout the course, people were speaking into my life, and they were saying, hey, you seem like a really great student. Have you ever thought about Bible college? I'm like, oh, actually, no, I had not. I didn't even cross my mind. And then the amount of people speaking into my life and all of that just kind of made me go, oh, I should actually seriously think about this. And so I thought about it, I prayed about it, and God was like, yeah, you need to go to this. But I was so scared. Oh, man. I was in a relationship at the time that God was leading me out of, and I was like scared to leave that. I was worried about money. I was worried about being in a different province and being in Manitoba and so far away from church family, from my family, being away from everybody, like wondering how the connections were going to go. But God was so faithful through all of that. He showed me that I could trust him and that, that he was there for me. I remember we were singing in worship, and we were sitting over there, and I remember it was the song Available. And so I was just surrendering to God and being like, okay, God, I am going to choose this, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to do Bible college. And I was just surrendering, and I had this image in my head of this brilliant light. And I think it's Jesus. Like, it's like this brilliant light, and it was so much brighter than anything you could think of. And there was this hand reaching down, touching mine, because my hands were up in worship. And it was like a confirmation of, I'm here, I'm present, and I'm leading you and guiding you, and you can trust me. And it was just such a beautiful, powerful thing that God had shown me. And I don't think he does that for everybody, but it was just so meaningful to me that he did that.
All right, Jason, Alexis, is that what you anticipated from Aaron? That was
Yeah, something like that.
Go ahead, Jason.
I mean, I could probably speak for even longer about this question. I'll try and give a very abridged version. I went to college previously to become an industrial electrician, and then after that I was trying to pursue an apprenticeship. And it just wasn't working out. I kept on trying to find a place that would hire me, and nothing would work out. For over a year, I was unemployed and searching. And then finally, I was able to just get a normal job doing general labor, and that's where I was faced with some difficult questions, like, what do I really want in life? What am I trying to pursue? What am I trying to achieve? And that's where I was forced to kind of reconcile the two ideas that my dream of pursuing an apprenticeship was actually a lower priority for me than being on the worship team, because I'd been on the worship team for about a year and a half at that point, and I'm like, I find more joy out of the worship team than I have ever from trying to pursue this dream that isn't going anywhere. And so it's like, okay, well, if trying to pursue God is more important for me, then what do I do to kind of follow that? And then that's where God started speaking to me through various different things and kind of teasing the idea of, what if you went to Bible college? And finally, it was at the church camp last year where he kind of spoke to me and said, you just got to go in. You just got to trust me. I'm like, okay, so completely sever myself from my old path that I was trying to go down and say, I'm just going to go to Bible college. I don't know what it's going to yield for me, but I'm just go there, learn about God, and see what he's going to make of it.
Okay, hold on. I don't want this to be wasted. Jason, can you stand up for a second? So Jason's first couple weeks at Bible college?
3 weeks.
3 weeks in. Okay, Jason, let's see the shirt. It says Flood of 24, Living Water, September 17th. So the college actually flooded. How deep was the water?
Well,
6 inches of water fell in 24 hours, and what happened?
In the span of 24 hours, it rained 6 inches of water. So, it was it started in one afternoon and ended the next afternoon. no building is designed to withstand that much rain. Like everything was leaking everywhere. Like we'd be in class and then somebody's like, oh yeah, there's a puddle in the corner. It's just seeping in through the walls. And then the sewers were just full of water. Like they're just completely topped up. And then dorm ended up flooding and then the sewer backed up. And so then they moved us down to the hotel down the street while they're trying to fix all of that. And, made the best of it. It wasn't most ideal. Someone made a shirt and we all got on board and here I am.
So that's how you turn disaster into a t-shirt right there. That was good.
Well, to get back to the question, after that little detour, so for me, SBC was more of a slow, gradual, I'll get there eventually sort of thing. Because my parents went to SBC, most of my youth leaders went to SBC. At the Summers Corners Church, SBC is known as Bridal College. Everyone, after you got out of youth, went to college and then met a spouse, came back, stayed there. But everywhere around me was SBC. I think when I was about 12, sitting in the pews, I remember God saying that my pain would help others. And I kind of remember scoffing at him. And I wouldn't say I regret laughing at God, but I know he was like, you laugh now, and you just wait. But yeah, and I know most of you were here for my testimony last summer. So the past 5 years or so, I kind of thought that SBC was just gone for me. That wasn't an option because of my situation. As Bible college wasn't a place for me. And now coming back to who I'm supposed to be, and having Will speaking into me, and Gord coming down and connecting with mom and dad again, and then through them connecting with me, it kind of just all fell into place. And yeah, like Pat said, I've only been there for a semester because I was planning on starting actually in September 2026 or 2025 this year. But what was it? A set free thing last fall. I had only attended with one of my friends because I don't know if you guys remember Steven. He would sit with me up at the front. He wanted to attend, and because he didn't really know a whole lot of people here, I attended with him. And at that event, I was urged by God to fully trust him, which had been something I was struggling with for a while. So in the spirit of trusting him with everything, I decided, well, if I'm going to do that, I have to trust him with my finances too. And that's the biggest thing I was worried about, is having enough money. So I signed up. Everything went smoothly. I only had 2 weeks to do that. But yeah, everything went smoothly. I got in, and I had enough money, barely, but I made it through God's grace. And yeah, that's kind of long and short of it.
All right. Thanks, Alexis, for proving wrong who would be the longest one to start.
Hey,
really
I was
appreciate
not
that.
the longest. Mm-hmm. There was just a lot there, okay?
I'm just saying.
We were
very convinced that she was going to be the longest, but
she only started.
You ended up being the longest. Just saying. Just saying. Mm-hmm. All right. That's good. And Jason's quiet in between. Just anyway. Okay, so what is one specific thing from this past year at school that God did in your life that either taught you something about God that was new, or revealed something about yourself that you needed to surrender, or something about the path you see God leading you towards? What can you speak towards in that?
Well, I don't know if I can really say God, like, besides providing the enough finances and different grants from the school for me to be able to stay. Really, the only thing I can say that was revealed to me is every step you take forward, the devil will see as an attack. Because during our March break, I guess, the dorms were very empty. It was the three of us. I think there was 4 other guys in guys' dorm, and then like in total 4 girls in dorm. So, yeah, it was very empty, very quiet, and a lot of time to just me and my thoughts. And so it was a lot of, oh, you made the wrong decision. You should have just stayed the way you were, and a lot of that. So it was, at times it was very difficult for me to be there, because it was almost like I came face to face with the decision I made. But the dean of women, actually, she was very supportive with that, and didn't quite understand, because not a lot of people are gonna actually understand, but she did her very best, and yeah, it kind of just showed me that doesn't matter where you are, God will use the people around you.
For me, you have to sort of pick a focus or a minor when you go to school. And so I'd been on the worship team for quite a while. I'm like, I'm going to pick a worship focus because I have no idea what else that's my only clue that I have going forward. So I started off doing that. And it was sometime around the middle of the first semester when the part of me that likes to plan everything else kicked in. It's like, okay, what are you going to do with this afterwards? How are you going to turn this into a career or something like that? And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really see a lot of jobs in like the worship field. Like I play guitar, but my music talent is not really there to be a worship pastor at a church somewhere. And like, what am I going to do with this? Okay, maybe I need to start thinking about changing my focus in, like, pursuing maybe pastoral or counseling or something else. And then I was in the library reading some book. I don't remember what it was. And then God's like, you know, I didn't give you the desire. Like, the desire for worship is not just your own. Like, I gave it to you. I didn't make you interested in worship just so you could go and do something else. And it took me back, and I had to completely stop the assignment I was working on and just go over in the corner and like pray for a while. It's like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? And I don't know exactly, but God basically showed me, like, He made me who I am, and what He's called me to do is to become who He made me to be. And so He's given me the desire to be involved in worship and in the worship focus. And I don't know exactly how that's going to turn out afterwards, but I'm just following His will to become who He created me to be. And that's what He's asked.
Wow, that's amazing. For me, so we were given these questions ahead of time. I still am not quite sure what to say on this, because I've learned so much, but it's hard to narrow it down to what to share, what to speak on. But I think I'll speak on a little bit of MX2. So I went up north with a small crew.
Okay, so you have to explain what that meant.
Okay, so MX2 is
MX? Start with MX.
MX is called Mission Exposure, and so 2 is for the second years. They went on MX1, and so so for second years they go up north into the indigenous communities, and so we spent a lot of classes learning about the culture and learning how we can encourage them and also learn from them and just learn how to be a blessing and things like that. And our experience was not as we expected. I think we didn't really know what to expect. First years, they have a schedule. It's very set. Like, you're going to go to this place at this time. Second years, you travel up there and you have hosts, and then you're left alone. And then you have to figure it out. And that is where God stepped in, and He was like, I am here, I am present. And we had no idea what we were going to do. We didn't know the hosts. They were very quiet speakers. And so it was very hard to understand them. But even through the cultural differences, God still spoke through us, and we learned so much from those people, so much hospitality, and love. We went to a fishing derby on the Saturday, and they just invited us in. And they were just so loving. They would give us rides on their ski-doos, and it was just like, you have no idea who we are. We are strangers in this community, and they're like, hey, you want to ride? And they've got tents, and they're like, hey, we've got hot dogs, and we've got like hot chocolate, things like that. And also when we went there, we have a host that leads us throughout the community where we're supposed to go. She was actually in the hospital, and so she couldn't guide us. But through her guidance, I guess, she called up her nephew, and she was like, hey, can you do this for me? He had never touched a Bible. He didn't know anything about Christians or Christianity or anything, but he was like, Bible study group. So he was like, I'm going to get you guys into like a Bible study going. And so we pick him up, and we're driving all around, and he's showing us what this place is and who these people are and all these things. And then he's like, oh, you guys want to go on the radio? So we end up going on the radio, and it was so funny. He had no idea how to use it. He had no idea. We had never been on the radio before. But, and it was very evident that we didn't know because the music was still going. We did it 4 times where we were like, hey, we're from Bible college, and we want to host a Bible study at 7 if you guys would like to come. The music is still going. And so he's like talking over the music, and it's just like, it's so hilarious. Eventually we figure it out because we did a lot of testings, and our host that was in the hospital, she was like, I heard you guys, and we're like, oh great. At least we know it worked. And so that was like a huge blessing. So he got us connected with the church ministers. It was at a Lutheran church, which is also very new. Got to experience a whole different kind of communion with wine and like sharing of the same cup. It was so interesting, but it was so cool. We also got to do worship there. But yeah, so we got a key. We went to the minister, and they just like, I don't know why, but they trusted us, and they were like, here you go, you can have the key to the church. And we hosted a Bible study every single night. And we thought we were just going to do one, but they were like, can you do another one? Like, can there be another one? We were also given Bibles that we could give away. All of our Bibles were given away. Everybody was like, can I take this home? And because one guy, he was like, he almost walked out with one of the Bibles, and he was like, oh, I should probably give this back. And we were like, oh, no, actually, you can keep that. And he was like, really? And it was just so cool how people that hadn't really encountered the Bible was encountering the Bible through us. We had no idea what we were doing. We felt so discouraged, like most of the time, because we were like, oh, how is God using this? We have no idea what's happening. We do not know how to host Bible studies. We weren't sure, but God was like, I gave you fishes and loaves, and I'm going to multiply it. And so he took all of that and just went forth and just moved so powerfully through us. And we also went to the school and got to encounter with the kids, and that was such a huge blessing. And oh, I wish we could be there longer. Like, it was such a blessing just seeing how God moved, even though we felt different. Like, we felt discouraged a lot of the time, but God was using that and empowering it.
They were right.
Do you want to take back your statement?
All right, so we've heard your motivation for going, and we've heard a little bit about how God's been working in and through you, and some of the testimony about what He's been planting and the fruit that's come from it. What would be your motivation for returning back this coming year? So you're staring ahead. You've had your experience there. Now you're looking forward. What's your motivation for going back?
I think this was something that I had to really ponder right after this year, and even kind of like throughout this year, because, you know, another year of Bible college, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of planning, and it's a lot of discerning. But I fully believe that that's where God's leading me for another year, and I don't exactly know where He's leading me, but I know that He's leading me, and I know that I can trust in him through that. But yeah, another thing is I would love to learn more about what God has for me there. There's also MX3, and seeing where God would lead through MX3, which is going to be in Spain.
So that's mission exposure level 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's like far. That's a lot farther than the little community. But even in a little community, God works so powerfully. So, like, yeah.
For me, it's a continuation of why I went to SBC in the first place. God called me there, and I'm trying to follow his leading, and he hasn't called me anywhere else. So for the time being, I'll keep going to Bible college until he calls me elsewhere. I've been going to church for my entire life and reading the Bible, but then now it's like I go to Bible college and suddenly it comes alive and you get to see a lot more of the intricacies of it. You get to see a lot deeper into why certain books of the Bible say certain things, and you get to understand more about the Christian faith and how it interacts with different parts of your life. And it's just been completely filling me up. It's like, it's so exciting to be there and to learn all that. And so if God's not calling me elsewhere, I'm going to stay there and keep soaking up everything that college has to offer.
Well, I've been looking forward to, or looking towards going to SBC, like I said, since I was a child. And at this point, I've committed, so I'm going to finish 3 years. And yeah, I love being in school. I didn't realize how much I missed it. Like, I'm going on 6 years out of high school. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I was back in it.
Love school. Oh. Wow. Does anybody else love school? Is it? Yeah. Well, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's. Oh yeah, okay, I see that. Love school. All right, that's cool. Ryder, love school. You are so full of baloney. That is just not true. The boy who reads a 42-chapter book for a book report. Yeah. Who would do that? Anyway, Ryder would. Okay, so next question. And kind of formulated the question because we found in our staff accountability that we do every week that when we ask a question that kind of forces you to scale where you're at in your journey, like we say, you know, in your spiritual walk, if you were to rate it between 1 and 10 this week, where you were at in your connectivity to God, and answer why. It usually, it's not so like you could pick a number, but what the purpose is for it to provoke some conversation back and forth with people to kind of talk to you about that. So I have a question here. If you guys were to rate your personal walk with God right now, coming back from school, out of 10, and where it was while you were at school, out of 10, what would those numbers be? And if there's a discrepancy between the two, why do you think that is? So if at school you would say, I was a 10, and you come back home, I feel like a 5. Why is that? And maybe you could speak into that a little bit.
I don't know. I feel like my numbers are going to be a little bit backwards to what you're expecting. I think at home I'm higher than I was at school, at least for now anyway. I think I'd say I'm maybe like a 6 or a 7 when I'm at home and more like a 3 or a 4 when I was at school. Just because, like I said, I was face to face with the decision I made and being surrounded by God 24/7 and being face to face with that decision. It was more of a, I want to learn about you, but give me a little bit of space here. And then coming home, it's like, well, now I've got that space. Now I want to pursue. Now I want to make time and like actually have that one-on-one relationship.
Just like I told you beforehand, I'm not going to give you any numbers. I don't think it's fair for me to try and say my spiritual walk was stronger at school and weaker here, or weaker at school and stronger here, because it's very different. I went to school, and during my time there, God's like, this is a place to grow. You need to take down kind of the walls you set up of who you think you are and just continue learning, continue growing, and just soak up everything that you can. And that's a lot like your sermon last week where you talked about planting the seeds and, watching them grow. And then now I come back, it's like, okay, well, what do I do with everything that I've learned? And it's changed me a lot in the way I think about things. It's changed me a lot in my outlook on life. And so now I'm living out everything that I learned, or trying to as best as I can. And so this is more like akin to the harvest, or actually doing something with the food. It's different. Not one's better than the worst. There's different stages of my life, and I was filled spiritually there through learning. Here I'm filled spiritually through using what God has shown me to actually practically live out what it means to be his child, created in his image for his purposes.
Jason, numbers be? What would they be?
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on, Jason.
What's a 10 and what's a 0? Like
10, you feel like you're really connected and alive. 0, you're feeling like you're distant and haven't connected in a long time.
I don't think I'm distant. I think I'm continually pursuing God more. He doesn't always grow you the same amount in every situation. Sometimes there's seasons where you only grow a little, but maybe you're only supposed to grow a little.
I feel like this is a college assignment where you need to add words, Check the number of words. It's supposed to be 2,500. I'm only at 2,250. Let me get a little wordy with this explanation. No, okay, that's great. I appreciate that.
I'm with Jason on this one about the numbers, because it's hard, and it changes.
That's the point. It's supposed to be hard.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good question though, but it fluctuates. In Bible college, you're in this safe community, like Jason said, you're growing, and you're learning more about God, and you're with Christians all around you. You've got supportive professors, you've got supportive peers, you've got such a beautiful environment that's safe. And then you get thrown back here and you're in a work environment. You don't have chapel every day except for weekends, which was in college, and which was an intentional time of worship and intentional time of learning. So coming back here, I have to be more intentional with, okay, I'm going to spend time with God. And in school also, I also took interpersonal processes class, and in that class we did rule of life. And so we got to evaluate daily and be like, okay, so today I need to do this and this and this, and I can structure it, or I could have it less structured. But you kind of evaluate daily of like, okay, this is where I'm at, and you reevaluate your rule of life every year or every month or however long you think you need to evaluate it. But also I do think this scale is kind of like, it could be different for each person, because from a scale of 10 to 0, and depending how busy is like, I don't think a 10 always means that you're reading the Bible 3 times a day and praying, and sometimes it's spending time in nature and just praising God and just being, thank you, God, for this, or waking up and just being so thankful for life. And like, I don't know, I think there's always that expectation of the 10 is like, I'm a high class A++ student, and I'm like getting all of these great grades, and I don't know, and I'm just like, I think it's another part of it is also just enjoying the presence of God. I think that's also a 10, is just wherever you are, whoever you're with people, just enjoying the presence of God, enjoying the image of God in the people. And so I think that if I could put a number on it, because you'll probably ask me, is probably at school, it's close to a 10. It fluctuates a lot. And then at home, it gets a little bit lower because I have to be more intentional. And it feels like I'm not as close with God because I'm in a different environment. But I might as well be pretty close.
Cool. Thanks for actually giving me numbers. Appreciate that. Just kidding. All right, so sales pitch time. We have a number of people here that are staring ahead in their lives. 20, 30 seconds. Give me your best attempt at convincing them that they should consider a year at a Bible college, any Bible college. Give me 20, 30 second. Let's hear it.
Okay. Bible college is a safe community where you get to learn more about Jesus. You learn more about God. If you have lots of questions, you get to dive deep and answer them. You don't have as many distractions around you, and you can just be focused on God. Another thing is you can also connect really well with people. The community there is beautiful. At least at SBC, can't speak for everybody or every situation. But that was also a big thing that drives people in. Another thing is if God is calling you, why are you not listening to him? You should listen to him. Just go where he leads. You can trust him, and he loves you.
So this is supposed to be just 20 seconds, right?
Yep.
Well,
Just like every one of my sermons. Yeah.
all right. I'll do a Patrick 20 seconds. I can't say what God might teach you at Bible college. It wasn't necessarily one specific thing that he taught me while I was there, but he taught me in every single part of my life. And so I can't say what you'll learn, but for me, I went there and I have a new appreciation for the Bible and the beauty of it and the words that are contained within. I have a new appreciation for the way that God leads me and who he's called me to be. I've got to be in a place where they're surrounded by God's people in a way that I think is very much almost like a little slice of heaven. I just be with God's people, living in God's community. That's what he's called us to do, and it brings so much life. So for me, it's been everything that I've been trying to find with God.
I think I'm just going to build off of theirs. It's a great place to grow. And even if you don't go in person, I know many people who have attended online and have grown in the same ways and done the same classes. You still get a little bit of the social life because you have group projects and different things that you're interacting with the class with. And if you can attend it in person, even better. And it doesn't have to be right after high school. Like, there are some people who go right after high school and regret doing it that way. They went for the wrong reasons. My advice is wait till you're ready. Wait till God is calling you. 'Cause if I had gone right out of high school, I know I would not have been in the same position I am now.
All right. Hey, guys, I want to say thank you for your willingness to share, to come up, to be able to pour out some of what God's been pouring in. Thank you so much. How about a hand for our college students? Can you take your chairs down? Okay, we're going to transition. I was challenged by Jason that there would be no possible way I could give you guys a closing 3-minute devotional. So, seeing that I've been challenged and in the spirit of my son Jasper, I'm going to see if I can rise up to that challenge and do that. I'm going to set my timer because we're going all in on this challenge. This does not count for the timeline, Brennan, because I know you're thinking that right now. I can feel it. Stopwatch. All right, go. This week we spoke with some college students. We listened as they shared about some intentional time of planting into their lives. Last week we talked about having an intentional time of planting. We looked at the seeds, and then we had some of the vegetables from the seeds, and then we also talked about how that's supposed to bring us to a place of communion. I really think there's supposed to be this full circle that comes from the planting and the harvest and then the table that we've heard Will talk about. We attempted to draw a parallel line from the experience of the farmers in our region who are planting the seeds that will become the bountiful harvest in the next several months. And that harvest will lead to a table of communion with our families and with each other. And that's hopefully the case, especially as we look into our church family and we see the number of different families and the opportunity for points of connection, inviting people over to the bonfire, inviting people over to the FOSPA, inviting people over to the table to be able to sit and to talk and to eat together and to share in that harvest is a special thing. In the past week, have you considered the question of what you will be planting into your faith journey in the next few weeks? Just like our farmers, they've had to take the time to plan, to purchase the seed, to prepare the field. Are we taking that intentional time of doing that as we enter into the spring and summer months? What are we going to plant so that we can see that harvest come? Even the smallest seed planted, the smallest steps taken, can become something way bigger than expected. We can see that in Matthew chapter 13, verse 31. I'll read this parable for you. Another parable he put forth to them. This is Jesus speaking, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all the seeds. But when it is grown, it is greater than the herbs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches." The story of Jesus is not far removed from this parable. A tiny baby born in a tiny town, an unknown family with an unknown place. Much time of growth happens, and then almost without noticing, he becomes more than what most of everyone who came before him. He becomes a place of shelter. He becomes a place of home. I look back, and that tiny seed in my life was because someone decided to extend the hand of invitation and sit with me during my very first church service. An invitation grew into me standing before you today. Just an invitation. Will you consider planting for a harvest? Let's be intentional, and let's see what can grow. 257. All right, let's pray together. Worship team, you guys can come. Heavenly Father, thank you for your love and your grace and your goodness. God, thank you for the opportunity that we have, for the soil of our heart to be worked by you, to be challenged, to have the hard earth broken up by the different trials and circumstances that we face, so that the seed can actually go into that good ground and take root. Thank you for those challenges. They're hard, but they're good. They serve a good purpose, a place to allow, Lord, fruit to be grown so communion can take place. Father, I just pray that as we consider, Lord, you in these weeks and days ahead, individually, Lord, what are we planting so that the harvest can come? In our families, where are we as moms and dads leading our families towards? Is it you? Are we planting seeds in our families so that when we come together in a greater community here at church, that the harvest will be seen here collectively? Heavenly Father, I pray that you'd help us to be intentional with this time. God, we need you to guide. We need you to direct. We need you, Lord. Lord, as we close, we're going to lift up our song to you. And God, we pray that you would just speak. Help us just to remain in your presence. In Jesus' name, amen.